समझ नहीं आ रहा अपने सैलरी इंक्रीमेंट का क्या करूं।
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है? अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स के एसआईपी का टॉप अप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
क्या समझ में नहीं आया?
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है? अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स का एसआईपी टॉप अप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
आप समझा?
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
Jailed climate activist Sonam Wangchuk has made a representation to the Leh Administration Constituted Advisory Board, challenging the grounds on which he has been detained under the National Security Act. Simultaneously, his wife, Gitanjali Angmo, has also petitioned the Supreme Court. The couple has questioned the basis of the detention and have made the argument that Sonam Wangchuk's words have been distorted and taken out of context. Gitanjali Angmo is with us now to talk more about what happened when Sonam Wangchuk appeared before the advisory board, as well as what her next steps might be in the Supreme Court. Thank you very much, ma'am. You were able to be with Sonam Wangchuk when that representation was made before the Leh Administration Constituted Advisory Board. First, let me ask you, how is your husband? Is he committed to fighting this fight? What has he said to you? What has he conveyed to you about his detention?
Yes, so I was part of the advisory board representation meeting as a friend, which is allowed as per law. And he had made a representation separately, and I had made it separately. And we were not allowed to share our representations with each other. So he was asked to submit his because he got the advisory board constitution letter on the 10th, and he was to reply by the 17th. But till the 16th, he had not been able to share his notes with me, based on which I could help him by referencing videos and other things, because he does not have access to them. But on the 11th, when he wanted to give them to me, which he had written, he was not allowed to. So I had to go to the Supreme Court and ask them to allow him to change and give me the notes, which they did on 15th. And therefore, based on that order, I could get the copy of that on the 16th. So obviously, we could not give it by 17th. So we requested for 4 days extension. And the idea was I would take his notes and, insert all the videos to strengthen it, and then send it back to him, which he could forward it. And which I did on the 21st at 4:11 p.m. But on the 24th, when I went in front of the advisory board with him, we were told that he was made to send his representation separately, which he did on the 21st at 7 p.m. And I had sent it separately on 21st at 4 p.m. And our representations were not shared with each other. And even the representation that I sent on his behalf by inserting the videos was not accepted by the advisory board, and they did not even accept that to be given to him. So it was a little weird and funny, because this means he does not have any, after appointing me as friend, which they sent me a letter on the 19th. So the work, the friend actually helps you to draft the representation.
So effectively, if I'm understanding you correctly, you've had to present 2 separate petitions, and he hasn't had access in his own representation before the advisory board to the material you may have gathered for him.
That's right. That's right. But that's number one. Point number 2 is his major detention order. The major part of it is based on 4 videos, okay, and which he has been asking since the day he got the detention order on 29th September, that these 4 videos are missing.
What do you mean missing? What do you mean missing?
They were not there in the detention order which he got, in the pen drive that he got. So the detention order had these references to these videos, and there were annexure A and B and so on. And these particular 4 videos on which the half of the detention order is based were missing. And he's been asking them through letters, through orally, from that day. There's a letter on 7th he wrote, and then later. And those were given to him on 23rd evening. Those 4 videos, when he had to submit it on, when the advisory board had to be met on 24th. So it was an incomplete detention order. So we feel that maybe it was done deliberately, because after seeing those videos, we find that they have been wrongly written as the video which he made during and from the Anshan site. Okay. So implying that those videos incited this violence, that he did it from the Anshan site. But when he got these videos on the 23rd, he found that these were referring to the interviews that he gave at 5 p.m. on 24th September after the incident had happened.
There are 2 specific comments by Sonam Wangchuk that were mentioned in the allegations against him. One was the reference to the Gen Z protests in Nepal, and the other was to the Arab Spring. And
Correct.
In both cases, the authorities have argued that this is an exhortation almost to the young people of Ladakh to do what happened in these contexts, and therefore these were inflammatory comments.
So I would like to reply to that these 2 have been put together as Arab Spring and Nepal, but they belong to 2 different videos. Okay, one which is 6 months or 1 year before the Arab Spring one, and the other, Nepal, is after the incident that happened at 5 p.m. when he was giving interviews to the news channels. They said that, do you think that this could have been, a Gen Z protest? And that's when he said that it is unprecedented. It has never been, and I hope it will never be. Okay. And he said, I don't know if this is the Gen Z kind of a protest, but youth were very upset that these talks were not going anywhere, and the employment, nothing was done about unemployment. So first of all, the 4 videos that were missing, that's the point I was making, which try to show that this was the Gen Z comment he made was from the Anshan site, is wrong. And these videos were given to us only on 23rd, after 28 days of his detention. And which was after the incident had happened. And he had said maybe, and it is not, it is unprecedented. And I hope it will never happen again. And the Arab Spring actually refers to another video which happened months before, where he is giving the example after the May 25th talks failed with the center, where they sent back the leaders talking about just domicile and other peripheral things. So in his entire talk on that day, which is, I think, 8th of June, 2025, which is after the talks had failed, he was trying to tell the people that we don't call this successful talks. Successful talks will be when we talk about statehood and sixth schedule. And he said that because these talks are not leading anywhere, we should not give up. Like Mahatma Gandhi, the passage starts with examples of Mahatma Gandhi. He says, just as Britishers didn't want to give us freedom, but Mahatma Gandhi went on fasts, he fought them. Similarly, he gives the example that in Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Sri Ramalu went on a 55-day fast and gave up his life, and that's how they got the state. In that flow, he's also mentioning that, and forget a big leader or an educated intellectual, even a simple vegetable seller, Bouazizi, he could start a revolution, who was a simple vegetable seller. So the examples are not just Arab Spring. The example starts with Mahatma Gandhi asking from the Britishers, from Sri Ramalu, and this, and mind you, where he ends is that, but we do not want this Arab Spring kind of a revolution, because we don't need to die. We can do it through peaceful protests. So that part has been taken away. from their orders of detention. And Sonam Wangchuk pointed out in the advisory board that all his speeches have been mangled. It is not properly translated. So parts of it are translated and parts of it are paraphrased by somebody by putting words into his mouth, saying that, and he further stated that. And that is something the person put words into his mouth.
So I've understood that you're saying that the Arab Spring reference has been presented in an incomplete way. And on the reference to the Gen Z Nepal protests, are you saying that the first time that reference is made is after the protests have already turned violent?
Yes, at 5 p.m. The video that they finally gave refers to his press conference, some media channel interview, which was at 5 p.m. that day.
And he didn't make any such reference before that in interviews?
Never.
I spoke to Sonam.
And this is something to be pointed out, because the detention order says his speech from the Anshan ground.
I've understood it wasn't from the Anshan ground, but are you saying that he never, before the protest in violence, made a reference to the Gen Z protests of Nepal?
Never. In fact, he has been telling the youth that we have to do it in the peaceful way. And he has in his video said that the youth are getting upset with him, saying that this government is not going to listen to your Gandhian ways and we are fed up with this Gandhian ways of protest.
So at 5 p.m. when he makes the reference to Gen Z protests in Nepal, what is the situation at that time when he makes those?
So that is when everything is over. He has called off the fast and he went to the Anshan site where he, while we can hear the gunshots, within wherever he was speaking from. So he calls off the Anshan. He says, if this is leading to, this unrest and violence, then we stop it. So, and he calls off the Anshan and then he goes to his village where then the media calls him. And at 5 p.m. there is a long interview they have. And in that interview, they ask him this question, that do you think this youth has this Gen Z, kind of revolution? Then he says, I don't know. It's there in his translation.
So you are saying that the first time, this is your argument, that the first time he makes a reference to Gen Z protests of Nepal is after he has already called his agitation off because the protests have turned violent.
Correct.
Okay. Now, when just before Sonam Wangchuk was arrested, I did manage to have a small interview with him. And he said that he made 2 points. He said, one, the youth were no longer showing confidence in his nonviolent ways. And secondly, he said he felt morally responsible for the protests turning violent because he was the most prominent face. He was the leader, as it were, of the agitation. Is that something you concede today, that even as you fight and challenge the National Security Act being the grounds for detention, something went terribly wrong in that agitation? Do you feel that he is correct to take moral responsibility, which is a different responsibility from a legal responsibility?
I think that is because of the gentleman that is. It's like if you're a good teacher and if your class doesn't perform well in the board exams, you would say that as a teacher, maybe I failed them and I should look into it or so on. But it does not mean that the teacher is taking the responsibility of, that the students didn't do well. So I haven't heard that interview of yours with him. Maybe I'll refer to that.
Yeah.
But he may have meant that he could have, through his speeches or through his talks, tried to convince the youth that Gandhian things will work, have patience. So that's what he meant.
Now, the other allegation, of course, which you have addressed, but I'm sure it's going to come up in the proceedings, is the allegation of links to Pakistan, right? You have rubbished it before, but now you'll have comprehensively respond to this in your counter response in court.
Actually, you will be amazed to know that the grounds of detention don't breathe a word about anything in Pakistan. So the way this whole thing has worked is that whatever they did not have grounds for, even remotely, they tried to create a smokescreen about it by just using their IT cells and trollers about, Pakistan and FCRA. And you are saying, because this is very important and I don't think it's been said before, you are saying that this alleged link to Pakistan or to a Pakistan intelligence operative is not mentioned in the grounds for his detention. No, it is not.
So
It
what
is
is
not.
what is the basis that has been conveyed to you are the grounds of detention that you are challenging?
So all of the grounds of detention are based on his videos from the past 1 year. Okay. And where he, as a teacher, is explaining the students, let's say, about something. I'll give you an example. Or he's trying to correct if there is a misunderstanding in the people. So there is a counselor. I'll give you an example. There is a counselor who misquotes Bakula Rinpoche, who's a very revered figure. That Bakula Rinpoche, in one of the meetings, said that if Ladakh does not get, I will exactly, refer it from the papers. So in 4.3, the allegation says that, and this I will take it up in detail, because this will show how all the other allegations are similarly fabricated. So it says, as shown in this link, YouTube of his YouTube channel dated 27/4/25, time 6:58 to 7:14, Shri Sonam Wangchuk stated that Bakula Rinpoche publicly protested against what he called Srinagar-dominated administration, demanded the right of self-determination for Ladakhis, which he called a nation. Okay? So from time slot 1525, 1544. So when we went through this YouTube channel, okay, now it shows that Sonam is quoting Bakula Rinpoche, okay, who is a very revered figure. And this Bakula Rinpoche, on whose name is the airport also has been named, is publicly protesting against Srinagar dominated and demanding the right of self-determination. So this is, very inflammatory. Okay. So when we went through the videos, so what had happened was there is a counselor who had in one of his speeches quoted Bakula Rinpoche as having said that if Ladakh does not get freedom, from Kashmir and is not directly under India, then he will go with Tibet. Okay. So instead of Tibet, this person said China in his speech.
The counselor. The counselor.
Quoting Bakula Rinpoche. Now, Sonam felt that this is very misleading because Bakula Rinpoche would have never said this. So he did research about it and he's clarifying it in the video that they have mentioned. And in his clarification, he's saying that in 1942 itself, Bakula Rinpoche had decided that Ladakh will be forming part of India. And in 52, in the JK Assembly, when this speech was being given, there was that time no China as bordering India. It was Tibet. Okay? Because China took over Tibet later. And Sonam is clarifying that what Bakula Rinpoche is saying is, as per the United Nations, there are two kinds of determinations, self-determination, external and internal. And Bakula Rinpoche already had decided that Ladakh should go with India. So there is no question of external self-determination here. And the internal self-determination that he is wanting here is to have a democratically, a constitution with a legislature, and Ladakh as a separate cultural entity, not under Kashmir, but directly a part of Mother India. And all of this he's explaining in that video. You understand? So first of all, it is not Sonam talking about any Ladakh as a separate thing. He is correcting a counselor who is misquoting somebody.
So you're saying the counselor is misquoting Bakula Rinpoche and Sonam is actually correcting him. That's what you're saying?
Correcting, yes. And he has taken the reference that this appeared in Ladakh Review, where a certain Balraj Puri had written this article, and where he had quoted Bakula Rinpoche as saying that Ladakh should be part of India and have its self-determination, and which the counselor has misquoted. Because even
the self-determination in this case is within the
Indian
Union. Within the Indian Union. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And
so this is one allegation. The other allegation is where they have said in another that Sonam is talking about plebiscite for Kashmir. Okay. So I will tell you what exactly he said in that. So there is in number 4, there is a interview he has with the Fourth Estate. Sonam has an interview with the Fourth Estate. This was in May 2024. So more than a year and a half ago. Okay. And in the end, it is a long interview. And in the end, Mr. Ravindra Shoran is asking him that there are some people in Kargil who want to go to Kashmir. Okay. Who don't want to be part of Ladakh, who want to be part of Kashmir. So what are your thoughts about it? It's about Kargil. And Sonam says that if 1 or 2 persons say is something, but if everybody wants, to be aligned with this state or that state, then the people should be free to choose what they like. And he said that is why we have things like referendums and plebiscites. Now, nowhere he is saying that it is a plebiscite for Kashmir. You understand? But here they are saying that Sonam Wangchuk, while promoting subversive thoughts, endangering the territorial integrity of India, stated that every region should be happy to go wherever they want and that there are referendums and plebiscites. Means this is the kind of mangled thing they have written. And after this thing, no, I should just end this. And after this 13th May 2024, there was a fact check done, right from NDTV to which I have mentioned in my representation, that all these fact checks were done by various independent, news agencies and all, and they all denied that Sonam had referred to any kind of plebiscite for Kashmir. He had not even said plebiscite for Kargil. He had just said that if everybody is interested, they should be having a choice.
For the record, Sonam Wangchuk supported the decision to abrogate 370 in Jammu and Kashmir, right?
Yes.
So it's pertinent to this reference. That's why I brought it up. That for the record, when the government abrogated 370 or decided to move to abrogate 370, Sonam Wangchuk supported that. And so that's pertinent to mention. So you are saying that the reference to referendums and plebiscites is not in the context of Jammu and Kashmir, but a general phrase. It's not even in the context of Ladakh, or was it in the context of Ladakh?
No, it's only in the context of Kargil, whether they want to align with Kashmir or stay in Ladakh. That was the question the journalist asked. And it's very pertinent to see that the fact checks that was done a year ago. And this was something that, again, the trollers had. So what Sonam was telling the advisory board again and again, that it is very interesting that how the IT trollers' same words and phrases find place in this detention order, which has been rubbished.
Could you share a little bit about, the situation inside Jodhpur Central Jail where Sonam Wangchuk is? You mentioned in the beginning that he doesn't have access to videos. Did I understand that correctly?
Yes. So when he was given the detention order, since the detention order is completely based on 2 things. One is videos, which are stale videos, either a year before or after the incident has happened. Or they are based on stale FIRs. So I'll come to the FIRs in a bit. Now, when he got these videos, so when he had to make his representation, he needed to see what these videos are. So the point I made at the court the other day was that he was not being given a laptop completely that he could, sit and work on it. So whenever he asked for it, the person would come with it and sit with him, and he had to watch it and do it. So which was, and then they would take it away. So if he has a thought again and he wants to refer to it, so he has to ask for it again. So that was there is a lot of impediments in sharing of data or between me and him, or for him to get help from outside to make his representation.
What did he convey to you about this legal process? Did he express thought, an opinion, a sentiment that you can share with us?
Yes. So what he was telling the advisory board and what he also told me is that they have just tried to frame him by putting together these videos and his words out of context. The same videos that have been referred to by them, if you go like 5 minutes after their reference, he's talking about India and how we have to fight for our motherland. So one of the allegation, for instance, is he is demoralizing the Indian army by saying that Ladakhis will be demoralized. It's exactly the opposite. What he's telling the soldiers is that even if you don't get the sixth schedule and this, okay, don't be demoralized, because we are fighting a political party who's going back on their word based on their manifesto. But it is not Mother India. It is, again, party has to be differentiated from the nation. And even if these people are not, acceding to our requests, we will continue to ask for it, but in peaceful ways. But this in no way should, reduce your passion of fighting for the country. Is something that appears in the video, which they have taken off.
Why do you think, picking up on this sentiment that he expressed to you, that they were trying to frame him, why do you think, in your opinion, he has been, if they are framing him, why are they framing him? Because after all, over the years, actually, Sonam Wangchuk, even you've had decent relationships with the BJP government. You've had a decent equation. What changed, according to you?
So if you see our past record, we have been very party agnostic, Like recently we've had erstwhile ministers from the Congress government visit us. We have ministers from AAP visit us. And as I've mentioned before, that before every MP elections, all the parties' heads visit Sonam and request him to become the MP candidate for them. So, but
including the BJP?
Yes.
When did that happen? How long back?
In the last MP elections, the last one.
What do you mean? Are you saying that till last month? Is that,
No. Last in 2019, I think.
Sorry. No, do you mean 2019 or do you mean 24?
2019.
So you're saying in the past,
BJP.
The BJP has asked Sonam Wangchuk to be the member of parliament for Ladakh.
They have come to him, requesting him
to run for the election.
Yes,
and
as have other parties.
As have other parties. Okay, go on. So what changed?
So this is to say that we are very party agnostic, but we are very issue focused. And we do not somehow, don't you see that the whole country is very polarized on parties, as if that is our only identity, But even opposition and all the structure of democracy for checks and balances is created in a way that on the issue, people can give their opinions.
Yeah.
So when 370 was abrogated, Ladakh would not anymore be under Kashmir. And that is why the step was welcomed by everybody in Ladakh. Okay. And that it was formed as an UT. But when they read the fine print, they saw that it was UT without legislature and without sixth schedule. So the reason Sonam was happy about 370, because again, it's the same thing of making India very strong democratically, integrating all parts of India together and giving each one a democratic freedom about their own development. So from that angle, 370 going would integrate Kashmir better, and its development will happen. But that is a separate point. But where the differences started were Ladakh being a 95% and more tribal population. It was always understood that it would become a UT or a state with legislature and with this protection, because of sixth schedule. So the whole this thing framing him started because in Ladakh he is the face for this, Though there are, and he kind of represents the apex body and the KDA and the people's demand for this. And he is considered to be somebody who cannot either be scared, made to be, or neither fear nor greed can swerve him in any way, So he is far from the BJP's point of view. He is like a tough cookie to crack.
Is he scared? Is he scared today now that he's in jail under the NSA?
No, not at all. When he was a young boy, he was a kind of, I would say, liberated, he was enlightened. He used to wonder, why are people alive? What's the point? That he didn't have any desires. And he was wondering that what is the point of living, and, that he has no desires. So he saw that a lot of other people have desires or wishes. And he thought that he will live his life fulfilling their desires. So a person who is kind of free and liberated will not have any fear.
What word would you use to describe his current state of mind in jail?
Resolute, stronger than before to continue this. And to answer your question earlier, so the BJP government felt that he is the strongest person asking for statehood and for sixth schedule. And if he's out of the way, then the rest of the leaders can be coaxed into giving maybe something like a 371 or a diluted version of UT with legislature. And, so with him around, they will not be able to do it. So that's why now they have put him behind the bars and they are resuming talks with the other leaders so that they can give a diluted version of the demands before they bring him out. So it was only for this that he has been put in jail. And that's why all these FIRs, which are stale, and out of the 5 FIRs that they have attached with the detention order, 4 do not even refer to him. They are about random people whom they have alleged are Sonam supporters. And the other 5th FIR that is for him, he was neither, arrested for that nor anything. And that refers to, again, incidents in 2024. So they are all stale FIRs.
A final question. You, before the advisory board, you petitioned the Supreme Court. At the time, it was a habeas corpus petition, which obviously doesn't apply because now you know where he is. You are back in the Supreme Court now. What are you going to be saying to the Supreme Court?
So in habeas corpus, the first prayer was to release him. Okay, because it was illegal detention. And for that, the second prayer was to give the grounds of detention.
Yes.
And the third prayer was to find out, about his health and mental condition and his medical well-being. So now that we have got the grounds of detention, but other prayers still hold, which is his release from this illegal detention. So we are amending the petition by including the grounds of detention and by challenging them. Challenging the detention on various aspects, starting with procedural lapses, which are serious, as well as the merits of detention.
All right. The ball now in the Supreme Court's court, as it were. Thank you, Ms. Gitanjali Angmo, activist, climate change activist yourself, also wife of Sonam Wangchuk. We will follow this case closely. Thank you very much for talking to us.
It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.